Innuendo, double entendre, and pun. In this video, we will learn differences between these words, their meanings, usage, and etymology. First, let's see innuendo. It means an indirect and usually malicious implication, use of allusions, remarks that suggest something unpleasant or sexual but do not refer to it directly. Innuendo is to say one thing but imply another thing. There is some subtle and hidden meaning lying beneath your actual words spoken. That intended meaning is not only different from said words but is also sometimes derogatory, sexual, funny. It's used as a noun. There is always an element of sexual innuendo in our conversations. Innuendo has gained a special status or place in English language whereby the implied meanings are more often of sexual nature or sexual jokes. Let's see some examples of innuendo. Woman once said to second woman, "Do you know Arthur?" And the second woman said, "Oh yes, I know him very well." The intended meaning, of course, is that second woman is intimately connected or familiar with Arthur. Innuendo is very much like insinuation or a subtle meaning, and that is left to the understanding of the listener. The woman too did not explain what she actually meant, but it was totally left on the discretion of the first woman, how she understands it by her accent or by her words. Sexual innuendo, we need to go deeper. Words and innuendo, I find this so hard to grasp. Notice in sexual innuendo, the words we have written in inverted commas may imply some different meaning, and the speaker may intend the other meaning. Let's see another example taken from the Wikipedia, where a female cat calls to a male cat and said, "You got to make calls if you want to get results." And from results, she implies kittens. Another one taken also from Wikipedia, a man suggesting to woman to sit on the horse on side saddle, and from that he wanted to imply that it will be less stretching to her vagina.
Etymology. The word innuere in classical Latin meant to nod, beckon, or make a sign to a person, and in medieval Latin more generally to hint or to insinuate.
Mnemonic, let's pronounce this word as innuendo is equal to I knew and. I knew and because I had hints or I had implied meanings or I had hints what he wanted to give through his innuendos. Similarly, another way is you can still stay in an inn, but you end up washing kitchen utensils. That implies or that hints you are poor. Because innuendo is all about hinting at some other meaning or implying some other meaning. Double entendre is a sort of word play. As the name indicates, it gives two interpretations or two meanings. One of them is risk or indelicate, and one of them is normal, innocuous. Unlike innuendo, its second implied meaning is often of sexual nature. For example, a person is holding his organ. The one straight meaning is that he is holding his organ or his instrument, but the other meaning is he is holding his penny. Similarly, a person came to shop and said to this girl, "You have big melons." Of course, there is a second meaning of this word too. Similarly, how do you find an old man in the dark? It isn't hard. That hard word has double meaning. Sometimes triple entendre is also used. For example, the whole backside has moles. This moles has three meanings, or even more than three. For example, the moles on skin, the moles animal, the flies, and the moles the quantity in terms of number of molecules. Single entendre is when a sentence has only one interpretation, but it still holds some ambiguity or some bizarre thing. For example, I would like to feed your fingerprints to the Wolverines. It has only one meaning, but it still has some ambiguity. The only one meaning of this sentence can be that the speaker would like to have Wolverines eat the listener's fingertips. Pun is also sort of wordplay that relies on the use of homophones or homographs. Homophones, as the name indicates, two words having similar sounds but they are spelled differently. For example, TO2 and TWO2 both have similar sounds but different spellings. Similarly, homographs, which are two words spelled similarly but are pronounced differently. Like double entendre, pun is also use of double interpretations of a word and multiple meanings of the same word. Sometimes words play when both words are different but are pronounced in the same way. But unlike double entendre, it's a less sexual in nature and a little innocuous. For example, look at this sentence: boys float and girls sink. Here, boys can have two meanings, buoy and boy. Similarly, kleptomania is a pun instead of kleptomania, which is equivalent to stealing a robbery. It symbolizes the Second Balkan War towards Romanian's king Carol, stealing southern Dobruja from Tsar Ferdinand of Bulgaria. Similarly, atheism is a non-profit institution. Here, profit, PROPHET and PROFIT, both have same sounds but different meanings. From these explanations, all these three words sound similar, but there is slight difference between these words. We will ponder over these differences. Pun can be singled out a little bit as it differs from remaining two. The other two are social plus communicative. That means they are related to the situation you are in. The person's listeners and speakers in this situation are most of the time aware about the actual meanings. But the pun is also is only communicative, is only playing with words. Moreover, pun is not sexually suggestive. It has usually simple meanings, unlike double entendre or sexual innuendo. Similarly, speaker and listener both know the actual meaning in case of pun, but not necessarily in double entendre. Sometimes the listener does not know the actual meaning. Innuendo comes from undercurrent of a thought. For example, I saw her go into the apartment at 10 p.m. and she didn't come out until 8 a.m. and I know his wife was out of the town. The imagination says something naughty, but the reality could be she may be his sister, but only they know for sure. And innuendo leaves the intended meaning to the imagination of listener. Double entendre is totally intentional and not subtle. It gains a thought based on dual ideas of a situation, unlike one which is a little bit subtle. In a double entendre, the humor comes from the fact that the whole phrase can mean something when placed in a different context. Two closely related words are malapropism and euphemism. We have a video on euphemism. Please check the link in description. And for malapropism, we will discuss in some other video. Thank you very much.